Afternoon everybody, hope you're all well. We're on to week 24, nearly halfway there. Bit bonkers really. So I thought this week I'm going to share with you something that I've taught myself while we've been on lockdown. Now I am no expert, I'm going to hold my hands up straight away. I am no expert on this. I'm assuming that some of you out there will be experts. You might want to have a go, you might not want to have a go, but we're going to have a go at tatting. Now this is an old hand embroidery technique that you're going to need some long needles. This one is a doll making needle. You can get them online, just a very long needle where the eye is fairly similar to the actual width of the needle, and you can also get mattress needles which are a little bit longer and a little bit thicker. The ones that I am using, the doll needle is a 5-inch and the mattress needle is a 6-inch. The only difference really between the two is the mattress needle will take a thicker piece of wool, which I'm going to use to demonstrate the technique. Now as I say, I am not an expert in this at all. There are loads of YouTube clips on how to do this. Obviously most of you know that I'm left-handed, so I'll only be able to show you this left-handed. I've practiced and had a go at doing it right-handed and I just can't. So you're going to need your tag, a backing piece that you're going to stitch your tatting onto, and a selection of threads. This is just a needle threader, just makes putting it through these holes a little bit easier. I'm just going to show you the technique on a piece of wool. I'll do it really slowly. Hopefully you'll get your head around it. Some of you might prefer to crochet, you might just want to stitch circles. It's going to be totally up to you, but I thought I'd share it and then you can have a go. I've got absolutely no idea why I have taken that off the ball of wool. So I'm just going to use a piece of wool just to hopefully show this a bit better. These needle threads are brilliant. I've tried the little ones that have the wire on them. Can't get my head around those ones at all, but these are great, especially when you can't see very well. Okay, here we go. Let's move everything out the way so you can sort of see what's going on. Okay, so I've got my needle and I've threaded the needle. It took me ages to work this out and try and get my head around it, so hopefully you'll be able to see. I'll do it really slowly. You've got your thread, and I would pull it so it's just a little bit longer than your needle. Okay, so I've got my needle and I've got my hand. So to start off with, I'm going to wrap it around my finger, and then the needle goes underneath that one, and then you pull it to give you a loop. You then go around the back of your finger and take that through, and you get your first stitch. Okay, so round, so it goes, the thread goes round the back, and I'm going to that side underneath, and then around the other way and from the back. This is the only way that I know how to do this. So thread goes anti-clockwise round your finger, and the needle goes through the front bit here, then it goes clockwise round your finger and through the back. Okay, so it's anti-clockwise through the front, clockwise through the back. Now if you're doing this right-handed, obviously it's going to be the other way, but hopefully you can see the stitches that I'm creating. So you just keep going, so through the front, through the back, and that's one stitch. Now I'm just going to focus on just doing little circles. I'm not going to worry about loops and attaching. I'll show you how to do the picots in a second. I'll have another go. So you want to do it till you've got a few of these on. It's one of those things I had to really persevere with this. Now I'm using a needle. You can get demonstrations where they use a tatting shuttle. I have no idea how to do that. But once you've got everything on, What we're going to do then is you're going to slide everything off your needle, but this loop here you just need to pop your finger through. Okay, so I'm going to slide that through, and this thread you just want to pull it so that you're pulling, make sure your finger is still in that loop. You're just pulling all your stitches off, and then you're just going to pull that thread through. Okay, so I've pulled my needle through, so I've still got all my stitches, so I've transferred them all onto there, and then that needle is going to come through the back of that loop that's on my finger. Okay, I could take it off my finger, just take it off your needle, and then what you just do is just gently pull it. It just tightens everything up, and then you have created your little loop. All you need to do then is just tie a little knot in the bottom. Okay, and you've created your little knot, and then I cut them off. So I tend to just leave them with the dangly bits on there. Okay, so I'll do that again. Now you can use different threads. I'm just showing you with this one because I just thought it would be easier to see it. Now if you don't have really long needles, just have a go at using the longest needle you've got. It just makes it a little bit easier with the long needle. There we go. Okay, so just got my thread, make sure it's a bit longer than your needle. Okay, so we'll start off again. So I've got my thread here, so I'm going round the back anti-clockwise. Needle goes underneath the front, clockwise, no, hold on, counterclockwise, clockwise, yeah, round the back. Do that again, sorry, I have to think because I've never talked it through myself. Right, so my thread is going round the back of my pointy finger, the needle goes up the front, then it goes round the back of my finger and the needle goes up the back, and that creates your little knot. Now you've probably seen, I think they're called picots. So what they are, and it's up to you whether you want to include these. So I've done 4 stitches on. I'm just going to pop my finger on the needle, and then the next stitch that I do, I'm going to leave a little gap and do 4 more stitches. Now, as I said at the beginning, I am not an expert at this. I don't know all the technical things, and if you go on YouTube, there are people that are a lot more proficient at this than I am. Okay, and then all you do is push that up and you get your little picot. So I've got 4 stitches, so just do that again, pop my finger, and that just gives me the spacing. 1, 2, 3, 4, slide it up. Okay, I'll do it again, leave a gap. 1, 2, 3, 4, and slide it up. Okay, so I've got my little loops. Okay, so we're going to take it, transfer it off our needle again. So you've got your little loop here at the bottom. Pop your finger in. Okay, still got my finger in there. Slide your stitches off, and you're pulling that needle through, so that's pulling that thread through. Just pull your needle, and then just pull in, work out which one's that loose thread that's there. Oops, which way around is that? That way. Then from the back of my finger, oh sorry, it's just gone a bit out of focus. There we go. Okay, so from the back of my finger, I'm coming underneath with my needle, so I'm coming back through that loop that's on my finger, pull the thread through and take it off your needle at that point, just slide it off and then just gently just pull that thread, it pulls that loop in, and then you've created your little circle, and this one this time has got the little picots on there as well. Okay, so again, now what you can do is if you're doing traditional tatting, then you can carry on, you'd carry on tatting and you can make little loops, little arches, they can be connected together. So if you're doing this and you are somebody that does know how to do proper tatting, probably a lot better than I'm doing it, feel free to have a go. If you are somebody that loves crochet and you want to crochet some shapes, have a go at that. Or you could just have a go at doing buttonhole circles. It's perfectly fine. So what we're then going to do is we're just going to make a selection of them and then stitch them onto our backing tags. So I've made some different ones, some little ones. So I did some reds. Now they can be, if you do them with a very fine thread, they can be absolutely teeny tiny. So there's my little fingernail, and that's that little red one there. So you can do them all sorts of shapes. So some of them I've trimmed the tails off, some of them I've left the tails on. The more stitches that you do on your needle, the bigger your circles are going to be, and then if you use lots of different types of thread, you get some really nice effects. So here are all my little tattings that I've done, and then it's just a case really of just playing around with them. So I've done one that was quite big, and I was going to have a play around with overlapping them. So I've done a really nice blue that's there. So some of these I have trimmed the tails off, but then some of the others I was going to leave the tails on, probably just trim them a little bit, but leave some of the tails on there. So these ones, these teeny tinies, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches on the needle, and they've been done with a perlé thread. Pop that blue in there. There we go. A little bit of red. I'm not sure whether, I don't think I'm going to put those on. They don't really, that was just really just to show the technique. So I've got 1, 2, I might pop that one over there, and then another red one up at the top. Oops. There we go. It's suddenly gone really dark here. Got some really dark clouds coming over. And then it's just a case of stitching them on. Just using a thread, just a thin thread. It could be a colour that matches, or because your stitches are going to be really small, it can just be a tiny little stabbing stitch. So if I just pull those to the sides, then I remember that that's where they're going to go. Oops. So I'm going to start with that one. When they're a bit bigger, they're a little bit more flimsy, but you could actually play around with this, because that top where the join is there, you could pop that in and actually make sort of like a heart shape if you wanted to. I'm just going to stick with the circles because I quite like it, just fairly traditional. So all you're going to do is just a tiny little stabbing stitch just over the top. You don't have to go in too many places. Oops. I'm just going to focus again. Let me just lift that up so it's got a little bit more on my table, and it might just focus in just a little bit better. It's one of the problems with this, because I keep looking down Right, there we go. Turn the autofocus off. So I've done the demo, so hopefully you've been able to see that. So hopefully you can see this as well. I've been trying to play around with the focus because I know that a few people have said that sometimes you can't quite see. I had my head down for all of that, so if it did go a little bit blurred, I'm sorry. Technical issues, and I am the IT person this evening. There's nobody else here, so fingers crossed it's all recording, because I don't tend to do a take two unless things have gone disastrously wrong. Okay, so just going around, tiny little stab stitches just to hold it in place. Quite nice to have a contrasting background fabric. I've just gone, I think it's like a piece of Sanderson's fabric, this. So you don't want anything too flimsy. Something with a little bit of oomph, really. There we go. And I've got the blue. I was going to overlap. It works really nicely as well with, oh excuse me, different types of thread. Oops, don't pull that too tight. So I've got some that are perlés, which are a little bit matte, and then I've got this one which is like an embroidery cotton, but it's got a little bit of a sheen to it. Just gives you that contrast of colours and textures, which is just really, really nice to play around with. But I do quite like it. I love it in the wool. I think you can really see the different types of stitches there. So I hope you're all well this lovely Friday. I'm busy sat filming this after work on a Tuesday. It's getting a bit dark, so I don't know if we're just about to get some rain. Loving seeing everybody's tags, and it was one of my friends actually that pointed it out to me. She'd said about sometimes it'd be quite nice to be able to see like all number 1 tags or all number 2 tags or things like that. So if you are posting on Instagram, if you still use the hashtag 52 tags handmade so that we can see everything, but if you add to that a hashtag 52 tags handmade, and then add the number of the tags, so this one would be tag 24, it just means then if anybody goes onto Instagram and searches that, they will just see all week 24's tags. Very simple idea, pretty genius. Wish I'd thought about it sooner, or wish they'd mentioned it to me sooner. We were busy having a chat about it the other day. But I am loving how everybody is commenting on people's tags, etc. Which is just lovely. I do get on and I do try and have a look at as many tags as I can, but there's so many people doing this now. I don't think I'd ever get any more tags done. So I'm sorry if I haven't been on and specifically liked or commented on. I have a quick look every now and again and try and do as many likes and comments and stuff like that. But as we are a community, it's not just up to me to do that. It'd be lovely for everybody. Had a look. If you're sharing, can you comment on somebody else's? There are some amazing ones out there. I know sometimes at the end of the week I feel like I need to do another tag because I've seen something that somebody had done and I hadn't thought about that, which is nice. I can't believe as well that we're nearly halfway through the year. It does make me wonder if summer's going to come. So hopefully by the time this video goes out, the weather will have warmed up a little bit if you're in the UK. We've had a very, very long cold spring. We had a little bit of a heat wave at the start, and then it's just been miserable, which is not good. Okay, so you could fill this with as much tatting as you want. I'm going to put these ones on and then have a look, because I quite like the dangly threads, so I might do a few more. Oops, turn it round. Threads are great, but then they dangle and they tangle. Okay, let's have a look. There we go. You could leave the threads dangling down, and when you come to stitch it on, just thread up the oh god, brain stopped working. Thread the needle with the threads that are dangling. There we go. And then just use that to stitch it on. Obviously you can do other stitches, so if you don't fancy doing the tatting, you could just do a really tight blanket stitch and just draw yourself some circles on and blanket stitch circles. You could lay down some like washers or something like that, a little bit like we did before, but rather than doing a blanket stitch, you could just do a satin stitch, or you could just wrap washers and then pop those on. You can do it with if you've got fine threads, a small needle is okay. It is just easier to do it with a slightly longer needle, but I do know it's one of those things you don't always want to go and buy new bits of equipment in case it doesn't work. If you have some vintage tatting, you could just totally cheat and just stitch down some vintage tatting as a decoration. Or if you have a friend that could do tatting, they could do some for you. Or if you don't want to do tatting, do something totally different. Just redo a tag, a previous week's tag, if you think, oh, I could have done that a little bit better. So there's, like I said before, there's no rights and wrongs to doing this. I'm sorry for everybody that's right-handed out there. I am a lefty, and I mean I can try and get my head around most things, but even I can't get my head around how to do tatting right-handed. That did just mess with my brain totally. Okay, let's tack these bits down. Then when we've done that and you're happy with it, it's just the usual. Tiny bit of glue, stitch it onto your tag. And then pop on your ring and admire all your handiwork in all its glory. There we go. I've just got one little red one left. Shall I connect them all together? Oh yeah. Connect them all up. So these are just tiny stitches, and I'm just trying to get them between each of the little stitches on my tatting. I could do with a light on, but I went and unplugged my little light. So it does feel like, even though it looks on the screen, probably looks better on the screen than it does when I'm actually looking at it. So the stitches are just going between each of the stitches on there. I didn't do any of the picot stitches on these ones. I've just kept them as circles. But if you want to do circles with the little arches, the little loops that connect them together, or you can create a few of them on one bit. Okay, right. I'll do one more demo with the wool. I'll show you about connecting them. Well, not connecting them together, but making a little series, because it's one of those things I've just thought, oh, actually you could do that with the green, and then actually that would look quite cute. So I'm just going to have a quick go at that. That didn't make any sense then, I'm really sorry. So that then will go on there. Oh, I've sort of created a little red heart. That's cute. Okay, so quick demo again. because I just had an idea. So put that to that side, put my hook through, grab my thread, pull it through. There we go. Right, okay, so just try and do this. That's it's a bit longer. Okay, right, here we go again. Right, I have to remember. So you're going anti-clockwise through the front, clockwise through the back, anti-clockwise through the front, clockwise through the back. So do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We go for 10. Round the back, needle up the front, needle up the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right, okay, so I'm going to create a loop. So I've got my 10 stitches, start sliding it down, finger through the little loop, pull them off. Then you just have to work out which one of these is your loose thread. There we go. Pull that through. Just loosen those off a little bit as they've got a bit squished. Oop, there we go. Thread through from the back. And then go pull it round. I'm not going to take it off my needle this time, so I've made a loop. Okay. Made a loop. Oh, I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to tie just one little knot. So that's just once, and just pull that tight. That just stops that from undoing. So I've got a little thing on there. My loose end. Just going to pop that back through. Okay, so I'm going to do another one now without taking this off. So what I'm going to do, so I've got my little circle, so I'm just going to hold that in my thumb and finger. So I'm going to do my first stitch, and I'm going to pull it so it's right down to the bottom, so it's right next to, a little bit tighter. Now this is the bit where I am sort of making this up. I know that this is probably not the most technical way to do this. So I've got my little disc. Right, if I put autofocus back on, hopefully it'll start working again. Right, there we go. So I've got my little circle there, and I've just made another stitch. So I'm going to do 10 stitches. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's 10. Where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Oop, turn that around. Just twist it around so it's right the way around. Right, okay, I've got my little loop again. Put my finger in there. Let's bring that around the front. Slide these off. Pull the thread through. Bit trickier with wool. It's easier with like perlés and stuff like that. Just loosen those off a little bit. Okay, bring my needle through from the back. Take it off. pull it tighter. And we've got 2, so they're connected together. Okay, so again, I shall take that off the right way around. Just tie a little, just one little knot, just keeps them together. There we go. Pop that back. If you are somebody that does do tatting, I totally apologise for my cack-handed way of doing this. This is sort of, I watched a YouTube video and then kind of made it up as I went along. So I've got my 2 little circles there, so I'm going to do my first stitch again. 1, pull it down so it's right at the bottom, and backwards. That's first stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have to do both for a stitch. For front and back is 9. Front, back is a complete stitch. So when you look at them and you get these little doubles here, each one of those is classed as a stitch. So again, the bit between your tatting and the needle, pop your finger through, take that down, pull it off. I got my needles off, I think I got my doll's needles, if you want doll's needles, off Amazon. The mattress needles, I think I just put mattress needles in on Google, and I got a packet full of mattress needles. It's just because the only reason that I got the mattress needles was because I wanted to do wool, because it's just a little bit thicker, and I thought, oh, I needed something with a bigger eye, so that's why I went for a mattress needle. The doll's needle, which is smaller, is perfect, and the ones that I got from Amazon, you got 3 different lengths of needle in there. So we've got 3 there, got some blue in there, and I just thought actually you could just do 3. So this is where I'm not totally proficient in my tatting, because it's got a little bit twisted, but because we're doing this just for our tags, it could just be that you do that, and then so it's like a little bit of a shamrock, and then grab a bit of fabric, stretch it over. What can I find? Oh, there we go. So you could have a little piece of fabric, imagine that's on your tag, just your background, and then you could just pop the 3 on and stitch them down so they stop moving, and then just have your little dangly. So these are the tags, or tatting tags. I'm going to trim those little bits off there. Don't forget little trimmings in your which is just things left over. Hopefully you've got little jars of those going. That's going to come up later in a tag. If you haven't got one, this is the one that I've been doing since last year. So it's basically, it's just a jar that has in all the last little threads. I have a big one on my desk, and then I have one of those tiny little jam jars that I just take out with me, that you just stuff all your little bits in. That'll be coming up later. Anyway, so I digress, sorry. So, tatting. If you fancy having a go, can't wait to see what you do. If you fancy doing something a little bit different, obviously feel free to have a go at something else. There are loads of YouTube clips on tatting. Just search it and just see if there's other people. But again, you could do loads of different patterns or anything like that. So It's a Tatting Friday today, and I can't wait to see what you do. Hope everybody's safe and well. See you next week. Bye bye.